Well, this is something indeed which everybody is going to look into because it is all about our future. How does our future journey go? What are certain questions that I have for my future that have been lingering in my mind? We have all the answers to it today with our panelists. We have Anjali Saraogi, who's the founder of Career Sati, an online career counseling platform to help students become the best version of themselves and find fulfilling careers. She's an MBA from Symbiosis Institute, a certified global career counselor from the University of California, certified career analyst, TM, and certified career counselor for international studies. She's also featured among the top 10 career counselors and education consultants in India, and also an empaneled member at National Career Services. We welcome you, Anjali ma'am.
Thank you, Swati.
Next on the panel, I have Samraat Jadhav, who's an XLRI alumni and has over 16 years of experience in designing, launching marketing products and services across a range of financial service industry. He is an advocate for entrepreneurship and consults with professional bodies to improve the support available for startup and growing businesses, particularly keen to enrich the experiences felt by new entrepreneurs and passionate about building both personal leadership and business skills as a way of creating success. We welcome you, Samraat.
Thanks, Wally.
We also have with us Farida Dahee, who's an etiquette coach for kids, soft skills and behavioral trainer. She comes with a rich experience of 16 years in the corporate world. She has successfully imparted training to various corporates, schools, colleges, and NGOs on various soft skills and behavior topics. Through her signature program, Kitty Kit, she has imparted online and offline training to at least 300 plus kids on manners and etiquettes. Also conducted kids entrepreneurship workshops for her community children, covering more than 200 kids across locations and online workshops during the first lockdown, and is quite passionate about helping children become respectful. I think there isn't any doubt about this. Well, let me start quickly with my first question, which I follow to Anjali Saraogi, ma'am. How has the education and admission scenario changed for students because of the pandemic, and what needs to be kept in mind now?
Well, I think, Swarleen, that's a question which almost everyone has been asking me these days. And as we all know, there are a lot of negatives which the pandemic obviously has brought with itself. So as parents, as caregivers, some of the biggest concerns are, yes, there are children are now taking to very sedentary habits. They have to sit in front of the screen for hours a day. And mostly, the social skills are getting affected. So now that the schools are opening up, children really don't want to go back to school. They want to stay at home, and they find this a lot more convenient. So yes, these negatives are definitely in place. And if we talk of India specifically, I can tell you that one place where we have been hit badly are in the board exams, because we were just not prepared for the pandemic and this online learning. And what happened was that, the schools were just allowed to come up with their own results, which finally resulted in very inflated results finally. So you must have heard about Delhi University lately. They have 100% cutoff in a number of subjects for a number of universities. So this has obviously caused a lot of demotivation, and it has upset a lot of students. But there is a positive side, and there is a silver lining to this whole thing. When we talk of online learning, all of a sudden the boundaries have blurred. So if I am a student in Mumbai and I want to take coaching from a top coach in, say, Kolkata, it has now become possible. 2 years ago, I couldn't have dreamt of maybe taking up a course from Harvard or from IIM. Today, it is possible. And this has happened, obviously, post-pandemic. So I think one of the main, positives of this pandemic is that it has given us so much of flexibility. we are able to now upskill ourselves much better, and students are taking advantage of that, taking up courses which were never possible 2 years ago. Now, for us Indians, the pandemic came along with the National Education Policy 2020. So a sudden change, in the education landscape. So on one hand, this whole online learning, and on the other hand, a complete new outlook towards education. The NEP, of course, I think is a breath of fresh air, because much needed changes being now introduced. But how does it affect our students and parents, and how should we prepare ourselves for this? Finally, we have realized that just rote learning, just theoretical learning is not going to be enough. So today I find our parents of 9th graders, 10th graders completely obsessed with the boards. Tuitions jao, study, come back, and all the time only study, be with your books. Very soon they are going to find that they are going to be at a disadvantage, because those who have been working on their profile, who've been doing things apart from just studying, are the ones who are able to get admissions into universities. Okay. Secondly, there is a lot being talked about skills. Now, skill development is something that we as Indians hardly ever looked at. So if I can refer to a UNICEF survey, out of every 2 kids that graduate, only one has been found employable. The other one is not even employable. So parents don't really realize this, children don't realize this, and they don't work on upskilling themselves, on skill development. And the NEP is focusing on exactly that. Critical thinking, on the job learning is what is now desirable. So post-pandemic and post-NEP, what are the couple of things that I would tell my students and parents to be prepared for? One would be learn to unlearn, because everything is changing almost every day. A course that you've taken up today might get redundant tomorrow. So don't worry, be ready to go back to scratch and learn to unlearn. Second, please focus on skill development. Focus on building a profile other than just academics. That's going to be very, very important. And the whole idea of rote learning and theoretical learning has to stop. We have to become a little more employable and job ready. So yes, I think that's one of the biggest changes that the pandemic has brought in the education landscape.
Absolutely. I think there has been a vast sea change in the coming up times with NEP coming up. That is where, the changes have started to happen, and people have really started to think, are skills that important? Because in India, yet if my child comes to tell me that, I'm so fascinated by the wooden work, I want to be a carpenter, I'll ask him not to do something like that, because this is one profession that you cannot take up. Even till date, even photographers were considered like, just clicking the pictures in the weddings and doing nothing else. But yes, gradually, the scenarios are changing, and thanks to the NEP, which is focusing more on the skill development of the child, the logical thinking, the critical thinking, rather than the rote learning systems that we have been really looking up to. So that was really nice to hear from you, Anjali ma'am, because these questions are so much pertinent that I think still parents have it somewhere down in their subconscious, what is going to happen. So I think you've pretty well answered them. Thank you so much. Well, I think you've got the answers to how, when, where all these queries can be settled. So please go back to Career Sathi and get your answers done. Well, the next question is for Samraat Jadhav. So we have seen the kind of financial stress and unexpected problem can create, whether it is job loss, medical expenses, or businesses being shut down. What do you recommend to parents and youngsters? What should they keep in mind when planning for their finances?
Okay, so basically, the pandemic has given a lot of ideology to a lot of people that where and how the money should go. Okay, so what I always suggest people here is like, first is we should track our finances, which nobody does. You should actually know where your money goes. Okay, because the money flows in through a salary or through a business income, and we just spend it across. Also, because of pandemic, a lot of money is not spent for hoteling and outstation visits or vacations and everything, which is now going to be spent on a very larger note. I think we should track all these finances and wait for it, because pandemic has hit a lot of people who have lost their jobs, short-term ideologies, and thought process accordingly. Okay. Very importantly, I will also suggest that we should start an emergency fund. Okay, which nobody actually plans for it, because people feel that, okay, I have a particular chunk of money and I can basically withdraw it, but an emergency can come anytime. So the basic formula for it would be your 6 months salary, or maybe your business income should be saved as an emergency fund in any of a debt fund, basically. Okay. Also, very important is asset allocation. Okay, so this word a lot of people does not know. A lot of people just invest either in one instrument itself, like the entire money is into a provident fund or maybe real estate, okay, or just fixed deposit. So it should not happen in that way. The entire money should be divided into particular asset allocation accordingly. Okay, and very important is nowadays short-term goals are very much needed. People had long-term goals, like retirement was a long-term goal. Okay, that people used to invest a small amount of money for a retirement purpose. But now you have a lot of short-term goals. Your child has a lot of short-term goals. Okay, he could be like, okay, I want to do this kind of business, and he enters into any fields after 2 years time, then, oh, this is not working, let's move to something else. And you may need to finance these things, okay, because we generally believe that you should experiment, fail, and learn out of it. Okay, so for all these short-term parts, you should invest a particular set of amount for the short-term goals accordingly. Okay, it could be anything kind of short-term goals, like buying uh, a good bike for him, okay, or a car for him accordingly. Okay, because, or he wants to go for a vacation somewhere else, so that's also one of a short-term goal which needs to be planned accordingly. One of a very important thing which parents ignore is appointing a nominee. So that is also a very important fact. Okay, so nomination has to be done for your parents or a guardian kind of aspect. So that is very important. I would like to give four things like ABCD of planning, basically, for financials. That is, you should plan for your contingencies, plan for your short-term goals, children education, and retirement planning. So I think retirement planning is the first thing which you should plan accordingly, because once you retire, your income is stopped. Okay, and the spending remains the same. So generally people plan retirement planning at the end, once they are at the age of 40, 45, and then now they are going to retire in 10 or 15 years, and then they start planning it, which is a very wrong doing for a lot of parents accordingly. Okay, so first is start retirement planning and then plan for all other finances.
So that's a wonderful thing. Start planning your retirement, or start planning it right now, because better you do it now. The roots have to be sowed right in the time. That's what I've really taken away from this. Thank you so much, sir. Last but not the least, I mean, this should not have been the last question, because I really am enjoying so much and learning so much that the panel should not come to end, but yes, it has to. Well, my question to you, Farida ma'am, is that how do you, definitely I'm coming to my question, but I just want to know from you, apart from this, which I'm going to come out later on, this pandemic has come as an opportunity for many new businesses and startups. Entrepreneurship is actually gaining interest with children, parents also. How can children develop and this entrepreneurial mindset that they are thinking about? So what is the way that you want to give them?
Thank you, Swarleen. Thank you so much. It's a very interesting question. So yes, entrepreneurship as such, this word is really big and it could be a little overwhelming for kids. But we're not looking at just entrepreneurship. What we need to aim at is, as they are growing, they should have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? So when we are helping children to have that mindset, a lot of things get covered. So during the pandemic, when people were stuck at home, students were not able to attend school, it gave them an opportunity to rethink their career path. And youngsters are very entrepreneurial inherently. They have the appetite to take risk. They're very creative. They're experimental. And we heard about a lot of stories, times of India was covering so many stories about children. Some of them turned entrepreneurs out of desperation, and some of them actually had so much time at hand that they, build their curiosity by looking at different ideas. So we had stories where children who could not attend school due to a lack of internet, due to unavailability of the smartphone, they started selling something or the other. It is also a form of business, right? It was only to meet their economic needs. On the other hand, we also heard about a 10-year-old girl named Mania Harsha from Vibgyor High. She's an environmental activist. This 10-year-old girl, she recycles daily kitchen waste into handmade vegetable paper. So this is like a social entrepreneur. How do we develop an environment and entrepreneurial mindset is basically helping to sharpen the kids' curiosity. If you see something, if you come across a problem, ask your child, do you think we can solve this problem? How do you think you can solve it? Because entrepreneurship is not just about a great idea and making money. It is more about solving problems, helping people. We can start with small things like helping them to maybe think about an idea, anything that they really like, because if they like something they will stick to it. If they are passionate about baking, if they are passionate about artwork, give them the encouragement to do it. If at all they have an idea which you feel is not going to work, let's not discourage them, but we can help them. Okay, how do you think this idea will work in a different way? Maybe give them a little different perspective. So entrepreneurship is not just about only ideas. It can be about becoming a social entrepreneur. So one of these girls who had attended one of my workshops, her mom runs an NGO. She's a volunteer. She and her elder sister, they made a lot of paintings and they sold these paintings, and from that money they helped the needy during these tough times. So that is a way of encouraging children to become social entrepreneurs. Another very, very important aspect, which Samir also touched upon, Samraat touched upon, is about finances. So how do you teach children value for money? Because eventually you do want to earn money, right? So parents can start by telling them about what money is, how it is used, and the value for money. In that, they need to actually give children the money to make their own decisions of how to use it. Maybe they can start by giving them a small allowance, something like a pocket money. And don't just hand over the child some money. Help them, encourage them to do some menial tasks, like some daily chores. Maybe they can clean up their own room. They can set up the dining table. They can help mother in the kitchen. And when you're giving them money, also tell them that they can save this money instead of just spending it up. So encourage them to have a piggy bank. They start saving money in it, and later on they can use that money for a lot of other things. A big and important aspect of entrepreneurship is embracing failure, which our children are not really accustomed to. Failure is also something you need to teach them, that there is not always that your ideas are going to work. Not all ideas materialize. There will be times when businesses fail, but that doesn't mean you give up. So encourage them to embrace failure and not to give up. So this will also help them. So there are a lot of things that you can teach them. Whether they really become full-time entrepreneurs or not is something which we'll have to wait and watch and see. But giving them the tools and the ideas and building that mindset is what's going to help them to actually go towards it. So gone are those days where we used to do a 9-to-5 job, one job. Today, sky is the limit. We need to actually just encourage them and guide them. They need guidance and encouragement to give wings to their ideas.
Amazing. I think the question that I was also so excited to put up with you was, actually, I can see, children not getting dominated and say, oh, I don't care, I'm going to open up something on my own, which is quite, visible in the college students also when they come for their personality session. And then, I don't want to get into the job, but yes, I want to become an entrepreneur. How can we bring that clarity, showing that visibility of the, as you rightly said, mentioning the positives and the negatives that have to be prepared for both. So what do you think should be the first tip that we should give to that child who wants to become an entrepreneur?
The first thing is encourage them. Yes, of course, this can work. Of course, there is a way to do things. But if they just have an idea, but they don't know how to go about it, then we need to show them the way that yes, entrepreneurship is possible, but in whatever they do. So if they want to become a fashion designer, start their own studio or something like that, they really need to be good at it. If they want to start baking, there are so many kids who turn bakers, but do they know how to bake? So obviously encourage them and guide them. So there is no harm in straight away getting into entrepreneurship and starting your own business, but you have to start from somewhere from the bottom ladder. So they can they can show them the stories. They can talk to them about stories of big entrepreneurs. Simple thing like Jeff Bezos, he started from his garage, and today he's not only a big businessman, he's got a big enterprise. So people have started from scratch. So if they think that I'm just going to go to the bank and get a big investment and then things don't work, so if they can start little small and see those small successes, let them take those small steps towards doing it.
Very well said. Thank you so very much for your answer. And I think it has really helped. All the inputs that we've got from Anjali, Samraat, and Farida have been really helpful. As they say, learning never exhausts the mind. And I think so is the case with me. I feel I'm still as fresh as I was in the morning and can continue for more. Yes, this session has been really a wonderful session. Thank you all the panelists for coming, joining us, and being there and answering the queries of the parents and the students as well. Thank you so much.